Welcome to ICARE, Infection Control Advocate and Resident Education. In this lesson, we will cover hand hygiene and the important role you can play in being a hand hygiene hero. It is once again a beautiful fall morning at the Springville Nursing Home. Mr. Jacob Moore, a resident at Springville Nursing Home and the Resident Council President, has been working with other residents, family members, and the nursing home staff to discover how infections are prevented and controlled at the Springville Nursing Home. He recently learned more about how the environment at Springville is kept clean and safe for residents. Working with Stephen from Environmental Services, Mr. Moore learned how often residents' rooms and general areas are clean, including disinfection of commonly touched surfaces, who's responsible, and what the nursing home does to monitor cleaning and disinfection. Mr. Moore is very happy to know there is a great process in place to safeguard the nursing home environment. But he still wonders why there has been an increase in antibiotic-resistant bacterial infections in Springville nursing home residents. Stephen suggests that Mr. Moore speak with Mia Lee, the lead certified nursing assistant. Stephen found out in a meeting that morning that Mia was put in charge of finding out more about the increased number of infections. Mia is very happy to hear from Mr. Moore. She's been looking at some of the process monitoring data and suggests that the recent increased number of infections in residents are coming from another common place, our hands. Looking through the recent monitoring data on hand hygiene, which includes washing hands with soap and water or using an alcohol-based hand rub by nursing home staff, there are some opportunities for improvement. With this new information, Mr. Moore wonders, how do our hands spread germs? And what can residents do to improve hand hygiene? After this lesson, you will be able to answer the following questions. How do germs easily spread from our hands? What are some ways to improve hand hygiene? And lastly, how can planning and participating respect resident rights while preventing and controlling infections? In a previous ICARE lesson, it was discussed that germ spread, also known as transmission, happens in two ways, directly and indirectly. Germs spread directly from a person to another person through contact with them, like hugging, kissing, or hands. Direct spread also happens when a person coughs or sneezes very close to you, and large drops containing germs from their coughs or sneezes directly enter your body. Germs spread indirectly when objects and surfaces in our environment get contaminated with germs. We touch those objects or surfaces and then touch our eyes, nose, mouth, or other areas where germs can get into our bodies, like broken skin, such as a cut or wound. Some germs also spread indirectly in the air through very, very small droplets that can come from people when they talk, sneeze, or cough, or even spread through using certain medical devices like ventilators. Of course, when germs spread to us, we can get an infection and get sick. In this lesson, we will focus on direct spread from our hands. Please see the ICARE resources provided in this lesson to learn more about indirect germ spread and how to prevent it, as well as how to prevent direct transmission from large drops from coughs and sneezes. Let's return to direct transmission through our hands. People can have germs on their hands they get from other people and the environment, but also germs they normally have on their bodies. When nursing home residents and staff do not perform hand hygiene correctly, they can directly spread germs from their hands to another staff or resident, and those germs can make them sick. Of course, it's impossible to keep our hands germ-free. Again, we have good germs on our bodies, and we can pick up bad germs from other people and our surroundings. We use our hands for so much. This is why good hand hygiene is so important. In fact, hand hygiene is the most important thing we can do to protect the residents and staff in a nursing home community. There are two main ways to perform hand hygiene: by washing our hands with soap and water, or by using alcohol-based hand rub. There are certain times when it's best to use soap and water over alcohol-based hand rub, and that includes when our hands are visibly dirty, before eating, after going to the bathroom, and when a person is sick with certain bad germs that cause diarrhea, specifically C. diff and norovirus. These bad germs are very hardy and tough. So, when a person is sick with these germs, it's best to follow up soap and water washing with alcohol-based hand rub. Alcohol-based hand rub is preferred most of the time when we need to perform hand hygiene. It's been found to be very effective at removing germs from our hands, and it's very convenient. You can find alcohol-based rub in gels, wipes, and liquid forms. Just be sure that the alcohol-based rub you use is made up of 60 to 95% alcohol. Washing our hands with soap and water begins with wetting our hands and applying soap. Next, we scrub our hands for at least 20 seconds, front and back, our fingers and palms, as well as under our fingernails. We then rinse our hands with water and lastly, dry them with a disposable towel, using the towel to turn off the water faucet so we don't get our hands dirty again. Using alcohol-based hand rub starts with applying the rub, making sure we cover all areas of our hands, front and back, our fingers and palms. We continue to rub our hands until they are completely dry, which takes about 20 seconds. So now that you know how to perform hand hygiene, when should it be done by nursing home staff as well as residents during care? Of course, hand hygiene should be done after going to the bathroom and before eating, and best with soap and water. But there are 5 moments during the general care of residents when hand hygiene should always be done. These are easy to remember as the hand hygiene high 5. These include before and after touching a resident, before aseptic or clean procedures, meaning care procedures such as giving shots, changing dressings, and manipulating a catheter, after touching blood, body fluids, or any surfaces that may be contaminated with blood or body fluids, after removing personal protective equipment or PPE such as gloves and face masks, and after touching a resident's environment such as overbed trays. Knowing how and when to perform hand hygiene is important, but nursing home communities must also have ways to make it easier for people to perform hand hygiene. This begins with having written policies and procedures that clearly state when and how to perform hand hygiene for not only staff, but also nursing home residents. All nursing home staff must also be trained when they are hired about these hand hygiene policies and procedures, and at least every year checked to make sure they are performing hand hygiene correctly as written in the nursing home policies. In addition, residents and their families should also receive education on any hand hygiene policies that pertain to them. Having the right supplies in the right spaces and places is also very important to promote and improve hand hygiene. Sinks, soap and water, and alcohol-based hand rub dispensers should be accessible in areas where hand hygiene is important, including where resident care occurs, where food is prepared, and where medications are prepared. Reminding staff and residents to perform hand hygiene, such as visual reminders like placemats that remind people to wash their hands before eating, or verbal reminders like politely reminding staff to wash their hands before touching you, can be very helpful. Of course, to really promote and improve hand hygiene, a nursing community must actively monitor how and when hand hygiene is practiced by everyone in the nursing home community. Feedback that helps to find any gaps in hand hygiene should be done in a positive way to improve hand hygiene, and not to punish people for making mistakes. So now that you know how germs are spread through our hands, how and when to perform hand hygiene, and how to promote and improve hand hygiene, what does that have to do with resident rights and responsibilities? All residents, those closest to them, including the nursing home community staff and administration, want high-quality care and deserve an environment that promotes high-quality care. Reaching the highest level of quality in a nursing home community includes taking all steps to prevent and control infections. And as all nursing home communities experienced during the COVID-19 pandemic, infections occurring not only inside but also outside of the nursing home community can result in changes that impact a resident's rights, such as visitation and freedom to participate in activities. These changes can have a major impact on a resident's overall well-being. When nursing home communities work side by side with residents and those closest to them, such as family members, to prevent and control infections, this demonstrates a commitment to quality care that preserves and promotes resident rights. And when resident rights are protected and preserved, this also strengthens a nursing home community's ability to prevent and control infections. When infections are prevented and controlled to deliver high-quality care, two major resident rights are protected: planning and participation. Residents have the right to be part of the nursing home's Quality Assurance and Process Improvement Program, referred to as the QAPI program. The QAPI program is required by federal law and is a comprehensive, systematic, data-driven process to maintain and improve safety and quality in a nursing home. The nursing home's QAPI also involves residents and their family members as part of the QAPI program solutions. The nursing home's QAPI plan must clearly establish expectations related to a resident's safety, quality of care, rights, choice, and respect. Residents also have the right to provide feedback regarding concerns related to the quality of care provided to them from their perspective. In addition, residents have the right to receive education on any medical errors and adverse events related to infections, such as what to look for and how to prevent them. Quality care can only be achieved when nursing homes have a strong program in place to prevent and control infections. Federal and state laws require nursing homes to have current infection control policies and procedures, including hand hygiene procedures to be followed by staff who provide care to residents. Education on hand hygiene for residents, as well as assistance with hand hygiene based on the resident's need, should also be provided. Surveillance, including collecting and analyzing data to identify if staff are implementing and complying with processes, including correct hand hygiene, and a method to obtain feedback from direct care staff, other staff, residents, and resident representatives. Feedback should be used with other sources to identify problems that are high risk, high volume, and also problem prone, as well as other opportunities for improvement. So let's go back to Mr. Moore and Mia. Mia informs Mr. Moore that in the last few months, hand hygiene among the staff has gone down a bit. Opportunities exist to ensure staff are performing hand hygiene before entering and after leaving a resident's room. One way the Springville Nursing Home measures staff compliance with the hand hygiene policy. Mr. Moore requests more information from Mia about the nursing home's QAPI plan and how the plan establishes expectations related to hand hygiene as part of quality care. He would like to know how resident perspectives are considered in the plan. Mr. Moore is well within his right to receive information on this plan and requests how he and other residents can be part of the solution. Mia is happy to share this information with Mr. Moore and was asked by the nursing home administrator if she could get some feedback from the residents at their council meeting. As the resident council president, Mr. Moore invites Mia to the meeting. After Mia presents an overview of hand hygiene data and the QAPI plan, the residents agree that they have noticed some staff not performing hand hygiene at times before entering their room. Residents express they feel bad saying anything to the staff. They work so hard and they don't want to upset them. Some residents also state there are times when they need help with hand hygiene after using the bathroom or before eating, but didn't want to bother the already very busy staff. This really concerns Mia, and she reassures the residents that it's very important to speak up, but also realizes it can be hard. Therefore, she asks residents if they would be willing to participate in a program used by other nursing homes, High Five for Hand Hygiene, so they can provide positive feedback to staff. In the High Five for Hand Hygiene program, staff work with residents to remind each other when to perform hand hygiene. For staff, before entering a resident's room, and for residents, before they eat and after using the bathroom. Residents remind staff by raising a friendly and positive sign of people giving each other high fives. This way, staff are reminded in a positive way that is comfortable for residents and allows them to provide feedback. Residents and their families are also able to provide anonymous feedback through a general form that asks residents how staff can improve, what staff are doing well, and if there are any concerns the nursing home leadership and staff can address. Residents can even nominate staff as a hand hygiene hero for promoting hand hygiene. Staff remind residents to ask for help if needed with hand hygiene before eating by placing vases with friendly reminder signs on dining tables and dining trays. Staff have also started including notes for residents who need help with hand hygiene after using the bathroom in their charts, and reminding each other to check these charts at the beginning of every shift. Staff are also able to provide anonymous feedback through a general form. A lot of good ideas for hand hygiene, but also how to empower the staff, have been identified. After a month of implementing the hand hygiene program, Mia returns to the resident council meeting and presents the overall benefits and some of the challenges of the program. It has taken some time for residents and staff to get used to the program and provide feedback, but hand hygiene performance is up in the nursing home, both for staff and residents. Mia also ensures the residents receive feedback on the number of infections Springville routinely tracks, including urinary tract infections and diarrheal infections. She is happy to report that the number of antibiotic-resistant infections have also decreased and educates residents on how best to prevent these infections. The administration is planning a celebration party for both residents and staff for being hand hygiene heroes. Thank you for watching this lesson. Please see the ICARE website for additional lessons, information, and support.